Manga-Waido.
I'm Sakiko. I live with my mom and my grandparents. My dad ran off soon after I was born. Your mother, she should have never trusted him. She's a fool.
Yeah, we're gonna raise you right, so you don't make the same mistakes she did.
That's what my grandparents always told me. I don't remember anything about my father, but I've seen his picture once. He was tall. He looked like a nice person. And Mom, she looked really happy in that picture. Can't remember the last time I saw her smiling like that. These days, she was working most of the time. I barely got to see her.
Should've listened to us. Instead, you ran off with him and got pregnant.
Go out there and work! She's your daughter! My grandparents always said that to my mother. When I was a kid, I always wondered why I didn't have a dad, but whenever I asked,
Her father was a horrible man.
he makes me sick. At one point, I just stopped asking. Then, when I started elementary school, Grandma started making me do housework. Mom said I didn't have to do it, but she was working around the clock, so she couldn't do it. I wanted to do everything I can to help, so I did as I was told. I wasn't very good at it, though. They always yelled at me. Growing up like this didn't help with my self-esteem. And even though Mom was working full-time, her parents took all her money, so I was always wearing the same clothes. The kids at school started making fun of me. They didn't hit me or anything, but I hated school. But I had this friend named Mari. She was always there for me. We grew up in the same neighborhood. Her mom was really nice too. Sometimes she gave me Mari's old clothes. My grandparents cared a lot about appearance, so they weren't that mean to me when she was around.
You're so lucky, Mari. Your mom is so nice, and she's always such a good chef. She started teaching me the other day. Hey, I know. Wanna join us? We're making pancakes today, come on!
So I went over to her house. Her mom was happy to see me. We went into the kitchen and started making pancakes. The pancakes were delicious. I wish I had a home like this. I started crying. Mari's mom saw me, but she pretended like she didn't notice. She offered me seconds and smiled at me, trying to make me feel better. If it wasn't for Mari and her mother, I probably would have quit school. Thanks to them, I was able to graduate a few years later, but things at home were still the same.
You can work now, right? Go get a part-time job!
Yeah, but you gotta give us everything.
When I started high school, I got a part-time job at this nearby convenience store. Mom was sick at the time. She was working way too much, so I wanted to chip in. Then a few years later, I graduated high school. After I started working at this local company, my grandparents still took money from me and made me do housework, but I was kind of getting used to it by now. Then one day, Mari came over to the house. She handed me this envelope and said,
I'm getting married. This is your invitation. If you and your mom can make it, it would mean the world to me.
Oh, really? Congratulations! Of course we'll be there! When we were kids, she always came over to the house. My mom knew her well, so she invited us both to the wedding. We had some money saved up, so we rented a nice dress for the wedding. We couldn't wait to see Mari in a wedding dress. But then, on the day of the wedding, something unexpected happened. This can't be. No way! Then she started crying. Is she crying from joy? Doesn't look like it. Then I looked over at the groom. It was my mother's ex-husband. He was much older now, but he was the same man I saw in that picture. Mari's husband is my father? This can't be happening. I was so shocked. They started going around the tables, lighting the candles. When he saw my mom, he froze up. But this was Mari's big day. We didn't want to make a scene, so we kept quiet. We just sat there in silence and ate the food. Then, on our way home, I asked my mom, "That was Dad, wasn't it? Right? Talk to me!" His name was on the invitation. Did you know it was him? I saw the name, but it's a pretty common name, and he's 17 years older than Mari, so I didn't think it was him. Dad, he just ran off one day and left you behind, right? Maybe you should tell Mari about him. It's not like that. Look, I'll tell you everything. So she started telling me what really happened. When she met Dad, she was 19, he was 16. They met at a library and fell in love. When Mom was 20, she got pregnant with me, but her parents flipped out. Get an abortion!
You can't have a child, you're only 20.
They were clearly against the idea, so Mom and Dad, they ran off. A few months later, Mom gave birth to me. They started living together, but Dad was still 17 at the time. He was struggling to put food on the table. Then a few months later, my grandparents tracked them down.
We'll give you money, but leave our daughter alone. Don't ever show your face again.
If you agreed to leave, we'll help them out financially. You got no choice. You're just a kid. You can't take care of a family, they said to my father. After much thought, he decided to leave. He thought it was for the best. Mom didn't want to lose him, but they were barely making ends meet, so she agreed to move back in with her parents. He loved both of us very much. He truly cared about you. He even came over to the house once to check up on us, but then my mom called the cops on him. I didn't want him getting into trouble, so I told him not to come back. But they always said that he was an irresponsible drunk. I thought that's why he left. They told you that? That's not true at all. I'm so sorry, dear. They told me they'd kick us out of the house if I ever told you about your father. It was a lot to process, but I decided to let it go and move on. If I'd tell Mari about this, it would ruin her. I didn't want to ruin that. I decided to keep this a secret. But then 2 weeks later, Mari came over to my house. She said that she had some souvenirs for me from the honeymoon.
Hey, can I come in?
Sure. This is a nice surprise. I was a bit nervous to see her. What the? She was with my father.
Look, he told me everything. I know he's your father.
What?
Look, it's fine. It's a lot to process, but I'm glad he told me. I thought you guys should talk. Your mother too. This is why I brought him here today. Come on, say everything. You always told me how much you cared about them.
Sakiko. Is it really you?
Yeah, Dad, it's me. Then Mom came home from the grocery store. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She dropped the carton of eggs all over the floor. It's been more than 20 years, so can't say I blame her. I'm sorry that I never called. I'm glad you're doing okay.
Same here. How are things? Is there anything I can do to help?
No worries, I work now. And Mom's feeling much better too, so...
But
Oh, actually, there is one thing you can do for me.
what is it?
Make Mari the happiest girl in the world, okay? She's my best friend, so I didn't really need anything from him, but... There's something you should know about. Mom, she told him about her parents. I don't care what happens to me, but they're going after Sakiko now. I can't take it anymore.
I hear you. This is all my fault. I'll handle it.
Dad decided to stay and wait for my grandparents to come home. Then about an hour later, they came home. You again! What the hell do you want? She yelled at her.
When you told me to leave, you said you'd take care of Yoko and Sakiko. That was the deal. That's why I agreed to leave, but she told me everything. You've been leeching off of them for years now. How dare you?
What? Shut your mouth. How dare you talk to me like that?
Back then, I was just a kid. I didn't have much, but I loved them both very much. That's for certain. But you two make me sick. Leeching off of them like this. Shame on you. This all ends now. They deserve a fresh start. They're leaving. Is that okay, you two?
Of course. So we packed up all of our things and left. My grandparents flipped out, but we didn't care anymore. My dad, he owned this apartment in the city. He let us live in one of the rooms there for practically nothing. After we moved out, my grandparents started fighting a lot. Then one day, they got into this huge fight and fell down the stairs. They were both seriously injured. They called me and begged me to help out, but stay out of our lives. Goodbye. A few months later, they both ended up in a nursery home. It wasn't a very good one, but they had no choice now. They still called my mom from time to time, but she ignored them. Fast forward 20 years. I was still good friends with Mari. It still kind of felt weird that she was married to my dad, but it didn't matter anymore. We were all happy now, and that's all that mattered. Oh, and I met someone at work. We're getting married in a year or so, and Mom, she also met someone. I was really happy for her. Things were finally starting to look up for us. Anyways, it was a rough couple years, but glad everything worked out.